Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving right into a seriously fascinating topic: intelligent operations. We're going to look at exactly how you can take your everyday, chaotic business flow and transform it into a concrete, highly optimized decision engine. So, let's just jump right in. Look, we need to start right here, because this concept completely flips the script on how most companies approach tech today. We don't sell AI, we make your business understand itself. I love this quote because it hits the nail on the head regarding a massive misconception in the corporate world. For C-suite executives and ops leaders, it's so easy to get caught up in all the vague, buzzword-heavy tech hype. But here's the thing. Intelligence isn't just something you can buy off a shelf and plug into a broken process. True intelligence, that's a consequence of deeply understanding your own operations. It's the result, not the starting point. Before algorithms or neural networks even enter the chat, a business actually needs to comprehend its own mechanics. And honestly, those mechanics are usually pretty simple at their core. Every single business, I don't care what industry you're in, manufacturing, retail, finance, you all live by this exact same foundational pattern. It's a flow of processes. You've got an input, which goes through processing, leading to a decision, followed by execution, and finally ending in a result. This is the literal heartbeat of your operation. But the fundamental problem most companies face isn't that they lack advanced technology. The real issue is that this critical everyday flow is entirely unmeasured. It's just running on gut feeling and silent intuition rather than hard data. Now, when that flow goes unmeasured, it creates what's known as the silent value leak. Value is literally slipping through your fingers, completely unnoticed. Where are you losing time? Well, usually in endless reworks, slow approvals, and just, repetitive manual tasks. Where are you losing money? Invisible cost overruns, delayed decisions, tied up capital. And perhaps most dangerously, where are you losing knowledge? It vanishes in uncaptured learnings, scattered data, and a total lack of organizational memory. But here is the good news. Absolutely everything that isn't being measured right now can be parameterized. So, how do we actually stop the leak? We follow these 5 concrete stages to transform an invisible, intuition-based process into a fully measured system. Step 1, you have to map the real process. And I mean how things actually happen, not your ideal, perfect world flowchart. Step 2 is to parameterize it, putting real numbers to every single step. Step 3 is integrating the data you already have. Only then, at step 4, do we apply intelligence to make sense of the whole shebang. And finally, step 5 is automate. This methodology takes you from saying, well, this is how we think we work, to this is exactly how our business behaves, backed by data. The absolute crucial point here is step 2, parameterization. If there's a foundational secret to this entire explainer, this is it. When we map the messy, real-world operational reality of a business, we stop talking about perceptions. We start assigning these 6 exact variables to every single step: time, cost, risk, impact, ROI, and KPIs. Think about that for a second. Imagine knowing the exact risk and the literal cost associated with just one mid-level approval step in your supply chain. When an operation is parameterized like this, the guessing completely stops and true analysis finally begins. Let's make this real. Here is an actual anonymized case from an industrial supply chain. Before they did any parameterization, purchasing times were just chalked up to the discretion of each buyer, basically a black box. But once they mapped and parameterized the flow, the data instantly exposed a massive 6.8-day bottleneck sitting right there in the approval phase. Even crazier, it revealed that 42% of the entire end-to-end cycle was utterly wasted just waiting in queues. When directors see this mapped out with actual time and cost variables attached, it clicks. The goal isn't just to implement AI, it's to gain absolute control over the process. Okay, to really grasp this paradigm shift, I think it helps to firmly establish what this approach is not. This isn't some traditional PowerPoint consultancy that drops a massive deck of theories on your desk and leaves you with zero execution. It's not a custom software factory that's going to spend 2 years coding a rigid system from scratch, and it is certainly not a generic chatbot. What we're talking about is mapping, integrating existing data, and applying deep business intelligence directly to your decision-making processes. Once that parameterization is complete, well, that is where the transformation truly happens. Enter the Discovery AI. This is the actual operational intelligence motor. It takes over that mapped data, and it effectively shifts the narrative from passive process management to active, autonomous decision-making. The process feeds the data feeds the intelligence, and the intelligence drives the automation. Simply put, the engine takes the wheel. And what exactly does this engine do when it has the wheel? It unlocks 6 core superpowers for your business. It actively detects bottlenecks, finding exactly where your time and money are bleeding out. It prioritizes initiatives based on actual impact versus effort. It recommends optimal actions backed entirely by hard data. It finds hidden patterns that the human eye would literally never catch. It predicts results before they even happen. And finally, it automates decisions, turning intelligence into autonomous 24/7 execution. It's not just passively displaying a dashboard, it anticipates and it acts. When you compare this to the generic tools you might already be using, the difference is night and day. I mean, Copilot and ChatGPT are great for generating text, but they absolutely do not model your specific business processes. Power BI, it's kind of like a rearview mirror. It beautifully shows you the past, but it doesn't predict the future or execute decisions for you. And traditional chatbots, they just answer predefined questions. The Discovery AI uniquely models your specific operations, detects your real bottlenecks, recommends explainable actions, and actually executes those decisions while learning from past human behavior. It's literally operating the future of your process. And you know what the best part is? The scalability. This single, powerful methodology scales across the entire enterprise. You just apply it wherever the friction hurts the most. In sales, it's handling lead scoring and closing predictions. In operations, it's tackling bottleneck detection and inventory forecasting. In finance, it's predicting risks and finding anomalies. And in strategy, it's scoring initiatives for impact. The specific process you are mapping changes, for sure, but that intelligent, predictive motor remains exactly the same. Moving from theory to the real world, the source data highlights 12 fully documented deployments across 9 different countries. And honestly, the results speak for themselves. A retail chain in Brazil achieved a 95% predictive precision rate and saw a 30% growth in sales. Meanwhile, a credit and collections operation in the Sri Lankan finance sector improved their collections by 70% while simultaneously reducing their decision time by 40%. This isn't theoretical. This is real, measurable, operational transformation across totally diverse industries. Let's hit some of these hard numbers in a rapid-fire sequence because at the end of the day, this is what translates to the bottom line. First up, 4.7. That is the massive average return on investment multiplier achieved at the 12th month mark across these global deployments. Followed immediately by 95. That's a 95% predictive precision rate benchmarked across the platform. Just put that into perspective for a second. Imagine knowing what is going to happen in your supply chain or your sales pipeline with 95% accuracy before it even occurs. That is a game changer. And finally, 4 to 8. For anyone out there dreading some massive multi-year IT integration nightmare, don't worry. It only takes a brief 4 to 8 weeks to deploy a pilot program over your existing systems and start seeing those very first measurable results. It's fast, modular AI, and you measure the ROI from day one. So how does this actually start in practice? It usually begins with a business discovery workshop. Think of it as a low-friction whiteboard session. You map out the current flow, identify the actors, list the systems, and spot those immediate bottleneck opportunities. It takes all that messy operational reality and translates it into concrete deliverables, a process map, a maturity diagnostic, and a highly targeted AI roadmap. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. I want to leave you with a quick, somewhat provocative question to reflect on. Is your operation currently running on silent intuition or intelligent data? Are you just letting value leak quietly through unmeasured processes? Or are you finally ready to map, parameterize, and build a true operational decision engine? The methodology to deeply understand your own business is out there. It's time to stop guessing and start knowing. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I highly encourage you to go take a long, hard look at your own daily business flows today.